Welcome to Same Spit Different Face TV. Well, my opinions is facts, and if you don't like my opinions, you can start your own podcast, and it's free. So don't forget to spit on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Welcome to Same Spit Different Face Podcast, episode 4 by Fairplay 2333. That's at FAIRPLAY underscore 2333 on all platforms. 6ix9ine Bentley has been shot up and seized. They're not 100% what's going on, but when you see his Bentley, you see it got bullet holes in the driver's side window. It appears that he may have bulletproof windows. It looked like the bullets went through, but it didn't shatter the entire glass, which makes me think he has bulletproof windows. Now, we don't know what's going on. We don't know if he was shot. I would assume that if he was hurt in that incident, it would have been spread through the news already. Matter of fact, this probably broke about an hour ago, so let me go check on Instagram. I'm gonna go to academics page and basically see if anything else has been said about it. So there's no new news about it. Any other new news that come about it, I'll keep y'all up on it. But for right now, the only thing I need to let y'all know is that 6ix9ine Bentley was shot up and they were seized. So we don't know if they seized by the feds. We don't know if he was in the car, somebody else in the car. We don't know if the car was parked somewhere. But I'll be giving y'all that update. So be on the lookout for episode 5 of Same Spit Different Face podcast in order to get that news. NBA Youngboy was arrested today, and it is said Lauren LaRosa, she basically broke the news of what's happening. It says, I've confirmed some exclusive details on the NBA Youngboy arrest per officials, meaning police. It says, the Che County Sheriff Office, in conjunction with Homeland Security, Ogden Police, Weber County Sheriff Office, the FBI, the Box Elder and Cleach slash Rich Drug Task Force, the Secret Service, and Latin SWAT executed a search warrant on the residence of Kentrell Deshaun Golden on the morning of April 16th. This search warrant is a piece of an ongoing investigation into criminal conduct. Due to the complexity of the investigation, there will be no further info at this time. Now, a lot of people are upset. A lot of NBA YoungBoy fans are upset because I said it sounds like a Rico's coming, and they like, man, Young Thug get a Rico now. Everybody's talking about a Rico. No, Polo G. They allege that he got caught with a gun in the hotel. Did I say anything about a Rico? No, but whenever you hear all of these, listen to this, man. Homeland Security, Ogden Police, Weber County Sheriff, the FBI, the Box Elder and Cheech Rich Drug Task Force, the Secret Service. Whenever you have all of those people working in conjunction to get somebody, it's bigger than them. That remember Lil Wayne lyric where he said it ain't about the money, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than NBA Youngboy. It's over his head. Now they could possibly be trying to say that he's the money and the driving force behind whatever the violence is that's been going on. If you remember, the prosecutor didn't even want him out on house arrest. So this was a great chance for them to get him. And also, he had been dropped. I don't know if he been dropping dirty or not. I don't want to lie and say he been dropping dirty and he haven't, but his probation officer continuously told him, yo, you gotta stop smoking, you gotta stop using the drugs. And he told her either he won't stop or he can't stop. Allegedly, he said one of those two. I don't know which one. So allegedly, but it's in the article. He definitely said that allegedly. Now, when it comes down to that, it could be a lot of different things going on. I honestly thought when he had caught that case where the gun was in his car, I felt like they let that case go way too easily. Now, either they let that case go easily, obviously, they couldn't prove that the gun was his. They can only prove that the gun was in his car, right? But in doing that, if you saying that the gun is not yours, but the gun is in your car and it's a bunch of people who drive your car, you don't know anybody could have been in your car. Well, what that does is that ties you into the criminal organization. And they say in court a lot of, ignorance is no excuse for not knowing the law or something like that. Y'all tell me the correct phrase in the comments, but it's something similar to that. So when you look at that situation, if it's people around you, so many people that's using your cars and have access to your house, and it's guns around that you don't know about, and you have kids around and stuff like that, the feds and the police and the Ogden police and the rich drug task force, they're going to be looking into it a little more. And then you have to remember that at first, when this LA thing was happening, they had a task force for NBA Youngboy, and it was called Never Free Again Task Force, right? So my perspective is that they just changed the name of the task force from Never Free Again to make it so it won't seem like they specifically targeted him as a celebrity, and they named it Rich Drug Task Forces. So what does that mean? He's rich, and they probably believe that he's either getting the drugs from somewhere, he's giving somebody the money to bring him the drugs, whatever it may be. If you getting these drugs illegal, and you know who getting them, or if like, obviously you got to think these people are getting these drugs from somewhere. So when you look at it from that standpoint, if those drugs that he's using aren't coming from, what do you call it, if it's not coming from a dispensary, or let's just say if he's taking pain medicine, if it's not coming from his doctor, it's technically illegal for somebody to give you their pills to use. And they use that type of law how they want to use the law, because we know all the time you may have broke your arm a few years ago, and your friend got into some type of accident, and the doctor prescribed them some perks or some oxycontin, and they don't need to use it, and they may say, well, you broke your arm and you didn't get that medicine you got not strong enough. All right, just come over and I'll give you these 3 or 4 pills I got. So that can happen all the time. But when you put all of the stuff that's going on around NBA Youngboy in conjunction with like pills or illegal weed or whatever it is, that's when they start to say it's a task force. Then you have to understand it's a lot of stuff that's been going on in his city. It's a lot of bodies that's been dropped down there. It's a lot of other people that's been got locked up for different cases. It's a couple of people in his crew. One of the people from his crew got locked up for the murder of G Money, and it was alleged that that guy may have been speaking to a couple of people about it. So we don't know what's going on, but I 1000% believe that they're gonna try to get a RICO. And for those of y'all who not understanding the situation, it's simple to get you tied up in the RICO. So when you look at Loon, I don't know if y'all remember Loon from Bad Boys, but Loon from Bad Boys did 14 years, and he kind of had the same type of case that Biggs, who was with Jay-Z and Rockefeller, had, right? Well, basically, he knew somebody who had some weed, allegedly. He introduced that person to that person, allegedly. And at that moment, when you introduce them people, you are conspiring to do something illegal. So you are just as guilty as they are, even if you didn't get any money, even if you didn't make any sales. And what that turns into is a 14-year jail sentence for Loon. Let's look at what Kareem Biggs did, allegedly. Jay-Z partner. He was in a situation where one guy asked him, hey, do you know anybody with a legal dispensary who can get me legal weed? Well, Big say, yeah, I actually do know a guy I could introduce you to. He introduced these two guys together to do some legal weed business, but remember, weed is not legal federally. So if you taking somebody across state lines to do some business with somebody about something that's not legal federally, well, the feds can pick it up and say you did something illegal because it's not legal federally. Now, if you let's just say, if you live in LA and you have a friend with a dispensary in LA, and you introduce a friend from LA to that dispensary in LA, well, if weed is legal in LA and you doing legal business with that person, well, you've done nothing wrong. But now let's just say if you live in LA and you have a friend who has a legal weed business in Colorado, and you introduce somebody from LA to the person in Colorado, which is crossing state lines, that becomes a federal case. And it doesn't matter if weed is legal in Colorado. If it's illegal, um, it becomes illegal once you cross that state line, basically, unless it's legal federally. So like if it's legal federally, they can't do anything to you. So that's the perspective you should look at this from. So Let's just say if NBA Youngboy, we know he living in Utah right now. Let's just say that his weed is coming from Louisiana, or let's just say if his weed is coming from a part of LA, or let's just say his weed may be coming from Denver and he's living in another part of Utah. Well, that becomes a crime once it crosses those county lines and stuff like that. Once it crosses that state line. And another thing a lot of y'all may not know, you may have a concealed to carry in Illinois. Well, once you leave Illinois and cross into, well, Indiana not a good example because Indiana is an open carry state. But let's just say you take that gun and cross over into Ohio. Well, now you've just committed a felony because you're not, you can't legally carry in Ohio, even though you have all the credentials to carry a gun legally. Once you cross that state line, you've committed a felony because you cross state lines. Also, another way they get you, if you have a gun case, let's just say you got a gun from Chicago and you have it in Chicago. This is how they get y'all and turn it into a Fed case. So let's just say the state may drop the case and they'll be like, all right, this case over with. We don't even care about it. We gonna just drop it. And then the feds pick it up. Well, you'll be like, wait, this gun is from Chicago. I got it in Chicago. How is this a Fed case? Well, what they do is they break down that gun and they see where every piece of that gun was manufactured. So let's just say if you got a gun from Chicago, manufactured in Chicago, and you purchased, and the purchaser purchased it in Chicago. Well, if the firing pin on that gun was made in Florida, you got you a federal case. If the trigger on that gun was assembled in Indiana and then shipped to Chicago, you got you a federal case. So that's one of the ways they get you with that federal law, is that any piece on that gun that is not made in the state that it was supposed to be made in, that's how you can get you a federal case if you don't have the proper credentials. So when we looking at this NBA Youngboy thing, they didn't just pick him out of hat and say we gonna raid his crib. Remember when he had all of that stuff on his camera, and his cameraman, they was trying to bring that into court because he was saw holding the gun, but the judge said, yo, we not going to allow y'all to use this because y'all got the information incorrectly. Remember, we talked before about fruit of a poisonous tree. If you don't have a warrant to go get something and then you get something like, okay, so I'll just break it down and what actually happened. They had a warrant to go to the house to look for actual guns. They got into the house and didn't find any guns, allegedly. But then what they ended up doing was they saw that it was a videographer with them, and they took the videographer camera and they saw NBA Youngboy holding guns on that camera, and they used that to prosecute him. Now, why is that a problem? Because the warrant only said they were there for guns, and it may have been drugs in the house, something like that, right? So anything you get outside of that that's not tied to those guns, then you have an issue. Now, let's just say if they would have went in that house and they would have found a gun. Well, now that finding that gun or finding drugs give them probable cause to search for anything that may be in that house. They can go in there for a warrant looking for guns, and if they find a gun, then now they have probable cause to look for everything else. I may be a tad bit off with the way I'm explaining it. So if y'all want to go look it up, y'all can just go to one of them lawyer.org sites and you'll get exactly what's going on. But I'm just basically trying to give y'all the breakdown and all the reasons and different possibilities of how this NBA Youngboy situation could possibly turn into a RICO when y'all think it's just a regular arrest. You don't send all those different agencies for somebody just for it to be a regular arrest, because if it was just a regular arrest, they would have just sent the Ogden PD to go get him, but it's not. Quavo was in court today for Young Thug. He wanted to show his support. Now, a lot of people may ask, why hasn't he been there all of this time? We don't know, but I guess when you get down to the nitty of it, only thing I can think is once the court decided that they weren't gonna call Gunna to the stand, I think that a lot of rappers will start to stand next to Young Thug now, and go to court or just visibly support him online, because now you don't have to choose between Gunna, who is one of the hottest artists right now, whether it's manufactured by the label buying streams, or manufactured by the label putting him on shows and filling some of those seats with actors. And I know that sounds far-fetched, but they do have streaming farms, and people and labels also allegedly have actors that they pay to go to these concerts and fill in and jump around and enjoy the experience, to give the perception that the artist is more lit than what he is. So if I had to, like I said, if I had to decide on why I think Quavo would show up now after the court case has been going on so long, I would say because Gunna is not going to be going on the stand, so now it won't seem like he picking a side. Um, is it real support? I don't think so. I think he do support Young Thug, but I think it's more for the look, especially since he about to start back trying to drop music. uh Jontay Porter for the Toronto Raptors, he has gotten a lifetime ban from the NBA for violating the league's gambling rules. Now, not only did he violate the league's gambling rules, but he did them under his own name. And it was something absurd. It was like he bet like $5 million, $10 million, or something like that, and he only ended up winning something like maybe 900,000. It was something crazy. It kind of looked like it evened out. I wish I could remember the exact numbers, but more than anything, the conversation is that he threw his career away, um, losing money. It wasn't like he won $20 million gambling, and obviously he can play basketball. He played in the NBA, so he gonna be able to go overseas and make a lot of money. But I think some of the games that he bet on himself, he ended up sitting out the games or something like that. So that hurts the integrity of the sport when you look at it from that perspective, right? So what I'm basically saying is that I make a bet that I'm not gonna play this day, and then I sit out. Or I make a bet that I'm gonna have under 10 points this game, and then I come into the game, but the coach then already told me I'm not gonna play a lot of minutes. So that's like hedging the bets, and that's also how people start to cheat, because you start to do certain things that can help you win those bets if you lose enough. So do I think he deserve a lifetime ban? Maybe, maybe not, because they allow sports betting now. So I understand they don't allow players to bet because they think it can hurt the integrity of the game in the ways I just explained. But what's going to be more interesting is how is the news going to cover the stuff about the MLB guy, the pitcher for the Dodgers. I can't remember his name right now, but y'all know him. He the famous guy. He pitch and he bat. He can throw strikeouts and hit home runs, which is highly unorthodox, but also unorthodox just to come from a Asian player, because normally we see Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and to dominate the sport of baseball. So that makes it an anomaly of itself. But all the fact with his story is that it's kind of different, because at first they said he was betting, but he didn't know. But then they switched up the story and said, well, it was one of his friends betting. The problem with that is that all the money was coming out his accounts, and it was like over 20-30 million dollars worth of money. And the other issue with that is that the friend was willing to take the fall for him, or so it appeared. But once you get into the fact of $20 million, that would mean that you've been stealing money from his account, and that's a federal offense. And even if the baseball player don't pick up the charges, the feds could still pick up the charges, and he can get a lot of years for that. So that's going to be an interesting situation to watch and see how MLB handle that. I mean, when you look at the NBA, it's easy to give a person a lifetime ban who's not a superstar. But then you got to look at it and say, well, what if this was Jokic, or what if this was Luka Doncic, or what if it was LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard? how would the NBA react to this situation, and how would they spin the narrative with somebody who bring the league billions of dollars? It's always easy for a business to do the right thing when it don't hurt their bottom line, and the player that they criticizing is just somebody who we probably, like this guy Jontay Porter, probably wouldn't even be in the league in the next 3 years anyway. So it's not like they making a big statement. It's just they doing what they should do in this instinct. So we gonna see how this play out, and I'll keep y'all up to date with this as far as what's going on with the MLB player. With a quick update from the Drake and Rick Ross beef, they've taken it to the internet. They've talked about each other's estates. They've talked about who's had a lot of money. Now, I think one of the interesting things about this beef is, unlike the 50 Cent beef, Ross couldn't really out gangster 50 Cent. So he couldn't out money him, right? So he had to continue to just make great music, and he made it through that. Now, when Drake beef with most people, he can kind of out money them, he can out fame them, and he can say his pen is better than theirs, right? He can kind of out those people and win. But what's interesting about this is that at this point in Drake's life, he obviously makes a lot of money, but Rick Ross is on the same level as Drake when it comes to making money, right? So when you look at it, a person who makes 100 million can live the same life as a person who makes 250 million, except for they may have to budget more. The house that they live in may be a little smaller, but it's still within the same realm. Well, when you look at Meek Mill, when you look at Rick Ross' house, his house, the one in Atlanta, is bigger than Drake's house out in Canada, the land that it's on. So he can't really outmoney him from that perspective. And then when you talk about the Jets, well, I think you got to really look at this and just say that they've been friends for so long. And Drake seemed like the type of person, when he get close to somebody, he ends up, spilling a lot of business and letting them know. So what ends up happening is Drake has to keep like a good guy image when it comes to the public. Everything he tries to do have to be kind of tongue in cheek in a jokey way. Well, Rick Ross came up as a gangster rapper, so people expect him to say certain things and do certain things. So, if it was a competition of jumping in the mud, Drake would be somebody who wouldn't want to get in the mud. He would want to keep his shoes clean. Rick Ross would be somebody who would be like, I don't care about jumping in the mud. I grew up dirty anyway. And that's just a metaphor of how, the two different perspectives. So I think that Drake shouldn't want this to go to the internet. I think Rick Ross wins on the internet because of his brand. He's allowed to say things that Drake can't say, that would turn Drake into like the villain, and that could affect some of his brand deals, affect his career, affect his money. Whereas whatever Ross say that's rude or disrespectful, it just fits the concept, and it fits the mold of who he is as a rapper and the image he portrays anyway. But the real reason I jumped on this is to basically call out the situation of Rick Ross went to his Instagram stories and he said hashtag BBL Drizzy, and then he said another ghostwriter, and he put OVO Hush there. So what Rick Ross is basically saying is that OVO Hush is a ghostwriter for Drake. And the reason why that's a problem is everybody has kind of been trying to say Drake can't be one of the greatest alive because he have ghostwriters. But Rick Ross was around Drake for so long, doing so many songs and so many conversations and trips together and hanging out at each other's house, that Ross can say stuff that's not true, but because of the narrative has already been that Drake has writers, people are gonna believe that and run with that. So Drake is in a really tough situation, and I felt like Drake shouldn't have this Rick Ross. He should have just stuck to like the Kendrick Lamar situation. He should have basically played it like everybody else who said something to him was beneath him, and he was only gonna focus on Kendrick. And now since he jumped out there, he kind of got a reply, and he trying to play the internet game a little bit. But I can't help but think that he's brand conscious while he's doing this, especially since Rick Ross is trying to, make it appear as if, Drake is cosplaying a black guy and he grew up acting white and being white and thinking white. And once he got into the hip hop culture, that's when he started to try to embrace the black culture. So Drake is in a weird space right now. Kendrick Lamar dissed back to Drake. It's been reported that it's AI, and I kind of believed it was AI, but also at the same time, I think it could have been a real song, but because of the way it was dropped and the fans wasn't really like saying it was the greatest thing they ever heard, I believe that Kendrick Lamar could have like took it back and said, no, this isn't a diss, etc., right? But anyway, some guy come online that we never heard of before, and he said that it was Kendrick Lamar was an AI, and he said that he's the one who put the song together, and he never thought it would sound that good and it would go viral. Now, there's two things that could happen. Well, actually, it's three things that could happen from this situation. One, this guy could be telling the truth, and he could have actually made this, and it's genius for him to execute and establish that he's the one who made this song. Maybe he can get him a ghostwriting career out of it, or maybe a label to reach out to him and say, hey, can you make these type of songs for us, or can you write this type of music and sign a contract where we use AI to make this music, or whatever the case want to be, right? Two, this guy is an opportunist. He saw that nobody had claimed this song, and then he came out and said he was the one that made it, which would also be genius of him because it would get him exposure. Three, somebody from Kendrick Lamar camp or Kendrick Lamar record label would have reached out to him and said, hey, um, we see that you be doing stuff with the AI, or we came across some of your songs on the internet, or this guy could have reached out to them. And they was just like, you know what? We'll give you this amount of money in order to come out and say that you did that, and you can verify it, and we'll send you the stems of the record, and you'll sign an NDA, and we'll allow you to come work with our whatever the case may be, right? But either way, even though I lean towards not believing this guy, I think it's genius anyway. And I mean, I didn't go look for his following. I didn't try to find his page, but no matter what type of following he had, it wouldn't hurt to jump out there and say, hey, I made this AI song and this is how I did it, and I didn't know that y'all was going, all of that. You know what I'm saying? So if he lied, it's corny, but also salute to him because he created the gimmick or the momentum he needed to get the attention that he wanted. Now, what he do with the attention afterwards is going to show how much of a genius he is. Drake posted a picture of Kendrick Lamar manager, and he said he wondered if today is the day, and he put a turtle there, and basically saying Kendrick Lamar is taking too long to respond. And one thing I said that Drake should do, and what he's basically trying to do, he's trying to shift the narrative of this beef, and he's trying to put the rap battle back between him and Kendrick Lamar and not Rick Ross. He didn't even acknowledge Rick Ross' record. He kind of just wanted it to fly under the radar, but when he started calling him BBL Drizzy and saying he got the nose job, he let Rick Ross trick him into responding. He should have just ignored everything Rick Ross said off top and basically stayed in the battle of number one and two for the rap thing. But basically he just saying he waiting on Kendrick Lamar to respond. I think that's good for him to try to shift this narrative away from Rick Ross and back to him and Kendrick Lamar. Everybody, the internet was up in arms. Latto posted a picture of her mama, and her mama is like white. She looked like one of them white women who got stuck in the hood or came to the hood and just never left, right? But she definitely is white. And one interesting thing about Latto, right? Her name is Latto now, and a lot of people don't remember her, but I remember a long time ago, and a rapper came out, and their name was Mulatto, and everybody was giving her a lot of flack because I believe mulatto means something like a light skinned girl or something like that. The same way, I think it's a rapper. Her name is like light skinned Keisha, or Keisha light skinned or something like that. Everybody get her flack because we in like the dark skinned girl era, dark skin, black is beautiful, like so. anybody who light skinned, if they don't like you and you say anything about being light skinned or fair skinned or white skinned or mixed or biracial, any of that, they're gonna give you a lot of hate. So what Latto ended up doing was basically dropping the mulatto and came out as Latto and rebranded herself, and here she is today. But I'm wondering what was the purpose of her dropping a picture of her mom. She dropped a picture of like when she was younger in her mama arm as a baby, and she dropped a picture of her mama as her mama is right now in 2024, how she looked. I'm wondering what do that do from her for her from a marketing standpoint, or do that hurt her from a marketing standpoint? Now, one of the things I could think could have happened is that they probably trying to get her to cross over more, and they possibly saying, well, you doing great in this demographic. You've been with 21 Savage, your black demographic and your demographic in Atlanta and in New York and Harlem and Chicago, that's picking up, but your white demographic is not really resonating with your music. And they probably compared her to somebody like Ice Spice and showed her Ice Spice numbers and was like, look at her numbers. Her numbers is across the board. Her numbers are better than yours as far as like demographics. And they probably told her, we need to come up with something that's organic to, show the white fans that you understand them or that you a part of them or something they can relate to. And maybe that could be the possibility of why she released this picture. Because to me, she's never released a picture before. She's never posted her mama before that I know of. And I'm not somebody who follow her on Instagram, but I do follow like DJ Academics. I follow Sean Cotton, and it's a couple of other pages that I follow or I used to follow that I don't anymore. Um, but because they culture vultures, that's why I don't follow them. Don't ask me again. But anyway, that's the reason why I would feel like if she had dropped this picture before, I would have seen it. So to me, if it's something she's been out for like maybe 5 or 6 years now, and she's never dropped a picture of her mama, so to me, it would have been a situation that when she first came out. Now I ain't saying she ain't never spoke about it. I'm sure she's probably spoke about it before, but it could have been conscious while she's marketing herself. Just like I'll give you an example. When Iggy Azalea first came out, everybody thought she was from Atlanta. She had like that Atlanta sound. She kind of sounded like she was a southern white woman. You thought she probably grew up in the hood. But then you come to find out that she grew up in Australia and she came over here to Atlanta after she got her record deal, or once T.I. was about to sign her, she was already doing music, and then she kind of changed up the way she was talking and changed up the way she spoke and the way she moved, and she was basically cosplay. You know what I'm saying? She was like playing white black woman, playing black woman, playing ghetto, playing hood, like costume, or actress, that type of stuff, right? So I think that a lot of people would have thought that about Latto if she would have posted a picture of her mama earlier. It could have detracted from her career, especially with all of the kickback she was getting and flack from being named Mulatto. Once again, this is Fairplay 2333 of Same Spit, Different Face podcast, where my opinions is facts. And if you don't like my opinions, you can start your own podcast. And if you do like my opinions, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Fairplay underscore 2333. That's at FAIRPLAY underscore 2333. Click the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Peace.